Super Bowl 60 has come and gone, which means, like us now, the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks are in the 2026 NFL offseason, which also means they have some free agents that your Carolina Panthers could go out there and steal. So on today's show, we're breaking down 7 free agent targets from the Seahawks and the Pats that the Panthers could go out there to try to make their own run to Super Bowl 61. Before we do, if you want the Panthers to make an absolute splash in free agency, do one thing for me. Prove it and like today's video. It takes 2 seconds. Go down below and hit that thumbs up icon before we break down these Panthers free agent targets. All right, starting off with number 1 from the Seattle Seahawks, we're going with Riq Woolen, the cornerback, 6'4", 4'2" speed. But is he the best player for the price tag? Look, Riq Woolen, he played the 3rd most snaps out of any corner on that Seattle Seahawks team. Devin Witherspoon and Josh Jobe, who we'll talk about later, played more snaps than Riq Woolen. And that was a trend that we had seen all season long. Riq Woolen had only started 7 out of the 16 games he played. He kind of fell out of favor with the Seattle Seahawks coaching staff because, honestly, of his unwillingness to tackle. And then the coverage lapses began for Riq Woolen. He was still able to amass 12 PBUs, 1 interception. Like, one thing you know about Riq Woolen is he's always going to make a crazy play onto the football. Whether that helps him or hurts him, he's just a guy who's always going to be around the football. He's a big-time gambler. And look, that can bode well for you, and it can also bite you in the behind. He did have the 3rd most snaps against New England, probably because the Seahawks didn't trust him enough, and rightfully so. He did allow the 35-yard touchdown down the sideline to Mac Hollins. Now, to be fair, the game was kind of in hand at that point, but you still don't allow that touchdown down the field, especially to a guy, Mac Hollins, who you are faster than. You probably are a bit taller than, maybe not bigger than in frame. Mac Hollins is a little bit jacked. But yeah, that's a bad touchdown to let up down the sideline, especially when you're an upcoming unrestricted free agent. I have his contract projected out to be 4 years, $62.7 million. Honestly, it seems a little bit more on the higher end. I got this projection from Spot Rack, and then I did the rest of the projections kind of like myself. I did a little bit of in-between work based on the high end and the low ends that I've seen. $16 million nearly a season for Riq Woolen seems like a little bit too much for my blood. I would go somewhere along the lines of 10 to 12 million if I were the Carolina Panthers offering him a contract. Somebody I would definitely offer a contract because I don't think it's going to cost all too much. Boye Mafe. This is a big-time Panthers free agent target for me. Want to know why? The Panthers pass rush is absolutely awful, and Boye Mafe is one of the better pass rushers on this Seahawks team. I know he's not necessarily a starter. He's not DeMarcus Lawrence. He's not Leonard Williams. I mean, he's not even Derek Hall, I guess you could say. But he did have 2 pressures in the Super Bowl. He had 41 pressures throughout all of 2025. Like, this guy can get in the backfield, and he's also a very underrated run defender as well. 31 total tackles on the season, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, which is honestly going to be the reason that he doesn't get as big of a payday as he may deserve, which you could say that that's justified or not. But look, 2 sacks is 2 sacks. You're not going to get a crazy payday of $15-20 million a season after that, especially after you already had 8-9 sacks in your rookie season and second year. 5 PBUs, though. He knows how to get his hand up at the line of scrimmage, and he can also create turnovers, had a forced fumble in 2025 as well. I have his contract projected out at around 3 years, $33 million, $11 million a year. I mean, if you're the Carolina Panthers, that's a no-brainer to go out there and sign. I would even give Boye Mafe somewhere along the lines of $12, $13, $14 million a season if it got it done for Carolina. Moving on to our next guy here. I mentioned him before, Josh Jobe, who did outsnap Riq Woolen in Super Bowl 60 and was doing it for really most of the 2025 NFL season. Josh Jobe, he's a solid player, man. I mean, not going to necessarily give you the top-end speed or the 6'3", 6'4" frame that Riq Woolen has, but he was pretty sticky in coverage all season long. 12 PBUs for him, too. Had an interception. Does he really deserve that 56.5 PFF grade? I don't know. Like, he's definitely a better tackler and a more willing tackler than Riq Woolen is, but at the end of the day, that grade is a bit scary. I don't want to necessarily view PFF as the Bible here per se, but I don't know. Is he going to be a guy who deserves $15 million a season? Probably not. I wouldn't even know if he garners half of that on the open market. I'm going to give Josh Jobe here 2 years, $14 million. And look, as a depth cornerback piece on this Panthers roster, I kick the tires on making a $7 million investment on Josh Jobe. Lastly, on this for the Panthers free agent targets from Seattle, I'm going Koby Bryant, maybe the most impactful player on that Seahawks defense for this Patriots game in Super Bowl 60, because he basically took away an entire half of the field, and he played all 71 defensive snaps. Him and Julian Love on that safety tandem, they didn't need anybody to come in for reinforcements. They had those sides of the field locked up all day with that too-high safety look. He was the highest graded defensive player per PFF out of any Seahawk. And we know all the Seahawks were going crazy on the defensive side of the ball in this game. 78.4 grade for Koby Bryant, ranked the highest. And this is after a season where I'd argue he broke out for the Seahawks defense, man. 7 PBUs, 4 interceptions, a forced fumble. He created 5 different turnovers in the 2025 season, and he can also make big-time plays in the open field. There's one thing I know about Koby Bryant. He likes to hit. 4 tackles for loss. He can make plays in the open field. I mean, he was so worried about just knocking Hunter Henry on his behind that he didn't get that interception in Super Bowl 60. I would have liked to see him get it, and then maybe would have gotten him a couple more $1 million in free agency. However, I think he's still going to get a big-time payday for the safety spot, man. 3 years, $43 million is kind of what I'm projecting it out as. That's around a little bit over $14 million a season. And look, I know you Panther fans don't love Nick Scott as that safety spot, so I'd make a sizable investment here in Koby Bryant, with Nick Scott being an unrestricted free agent. With that being said, out of the 4 Seahawks that we've talked about on today's show, who would you sign if you had the choice for Carolina? Riq Woolen, drop a Riq down in the comment section. Boye Mafe, type of BM. Josh Jobe, give me a double J. Or if you like Koby Bryant there on the back end, type of CB. Which Hawk would you sign? Let me know in the comments. I personally would be typing my CBs if I were the Carolina Panthers here. I just think Koby Bryant's the most impactful player. I'd also be typing my BMs, though, because, look, let's be honest. Boye Mafe, he made a pretty good case as a buy low candidate in 2026. Now, we're going to talk about some free agent targets from the New England Patriots. I get it, guys. They didn't play all that great, and I'm not going to really be targeting many guys from the offensive side of the ball for them. So let's start off here with Khyiris Tonga, defensive tackle for New England. And look, Tonga was their 3rd defensive tackle. He was behind Milton Williams in the depth chart. He was behind Christian Barmore in the depth chart. Those are 2 guys who it's pretty easy to fall behind in terms of the pecking order here. 2 of the better defensive tackles in all of football. But Khyiris Tonga was certainly a guy who I heard Patriots Today host Brett Alper week after week, when he was missing time toward the end of the season, say that he was a big piece of their defense. 24 tackles in 2025, 2 TFL, 16 stops, and those are runs that are like 2 yards or less. So he's a solid plug in the middle of that defensive line. 17 pressures, though, an underrated pass rusher here from the interior, along with 2 PBUs, so you can get that big mitt up and bat some balls at the line of scrimmage as well. As far as his contract projection goes, 2 years, $8 million. He's a depth defensive tackle piece. The Panthers have a couple defensive tackles in free agency as well, so I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on a guy who we could also use as a versatile fullback. The Patriots did that in short yardage situations in 2025. Next up, K'Lavon Chaisson, edge spot. Another guy for a pass rusher who the Panthers desperately need to take a look at, because their pass rush is brutal. We're forgetting that. He had 7.5 sacks in 2025, guys. One of his better seasons as a pro. Some people could argue that Chaisson came in here and didn't live up to his first-round draft stock, and that was the case for a couple of seasons, but I could argue he did break out in 2025 for the New England Patriots. 10 TFLs, 2 PBUs, 2 forced fumbles. The guy just made plays left and right, and he was in Sam Darnold's face during Super Bowl 60. Couldn't finish a lot of them for sacks, but he certainly got some pressures back there on that Seattle offensive line. As far as my contract projection for him goes, I'd go 3 years, $36 million, about $12 million a season. Look, if we're comparing these 2 guys between Chaisson and Boye Mafe, I'm probably going for Boye Mafe if you ask me for your Carolina Panthers. Now, coming up, we got one more Patriots free agent target, and we're going back to the safety spot. Jaylinn Hawkins, the guy who was starting alongside Craig Woodson. You could argue the Patriots' best defender outside of Christian Gonzalez. Jaylinn Hawkins was really, really good, though, in 2025. In 15 games played, he's a tackling machine, 71 tackles on the season, 3 TFLs, 6 PBUs, including 4 interceptions on the season. Another absolute ball hawk who got a PFF grade of 82.4, one of the highest graded safeties in all of the National Football League. I'm willing to take a flyer on a guy like Jaylinn Hawkins. He is 27 years old, though, so I don't necessarily think he's going to get like a long-term, big money deal. 2 years, $16 million for Jaylinn Hawkins here. I think it'd be another massive bargain, and I would absolutely implore the Panthers to go out there and target him. So we went through 7 names that the Panthers could go out there and sign in free agency from the Seahawks and from the Patriots from Super Bowl 60. With that being said, before we get out of here on today's show, I got to ask you, who would be the guy that you'd want to sign in free agency if you were the Carolina Panthers? Name a player down in the comment section. Doesn't matter if it's one of the names from the 7 we just listed or somebody else. Who is your guy the Panthers got to go out there and sign in free agency this cycle? Let me know who that is down in the comment section, as that will do it for today's show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/Panthers Today, for the latest and greatest on your Carolina Panthers all offseason long. We'll see you guys next video, and as always, keep pounding.